Hi guys, Penny Rose Journals, how you doing? Okay, please forgive the lighting. It's that time of year. The sun has changed the way it shines through my window of an afternoon, and this is what we've got. I have this book here. It is a church prayer book. The font in it, the print is huge, so I am going to use some of these pages and cut them apart and make some found words, just to pop in journals. I like doing this occasionally when I've got sort of nothing pressing I want to do. I'll pull a few pages out of a book with the sort of larger font and cut the words apart and rearrange them to make little sentences. They don't have to make sense. They don't have to be in any particular theme. I just enjoy putting words together into sentences. And then I'll stick them to a page or a pocket or something in a journal just for a little bit of added interest. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to tear a couple of pages out of this book. It is bound with perfect binding, so I don't have to cut any threads or anything to take signatures out. Each page is bound in individually and just glued in, so I'm just going to tear them out. Anyway, if you are happy to sit here and watch me cut apart words and stick them back together, sit down and grab a cup of coffee, relax. Now, I find, like a lot of artistic sort of pursuits, that this takes time to get into the flow. So, if you do decide to do this and you're really sort of struggling to make something that feels right to you in the beginning, just persevere. That's my suggestion. Fight through it. Because that first sentence, the first couple of sentences even, are difficult to find. For me, anyway. It's not necessarily true for everybody, but my experience is I always seem to find the first few really difficult to find, and then it just sort of starts to come together, and you start getting ideas, and the more little words you have lying on your mat that you've torn out to get to other words, the easier it becomes, and by the end you're just sort of picking up words and popping them into sentences quite easily. So yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get into the flow, but when you get there, it's quite an enjoyable sort of thing to do. Just sit and make little sentences, nonsensical sentences that don't go anywhere or with anything. It's just whatever makes you feel good. So I am just sticking mine to this piece of sort of gridded brown paper today. I often use just scraps to do this. These words are quite big, so they're going to take up quite a bit of space. So I've decided to just use this paper pad and just stick them down. But if my words are a little bit small, I often use just scraps out of my scrap drawer to do this with, and it works just fine. And they look great stuck into a journal. So yeah, if you can't seem to find that first sentence, just keep struggling on. It'll come to you eventually. You'll notice that first sentence I was working on, I just completely take it off my pad here. I could not find the words that made it make sense to me. Um, I just couldn't make it work. So um, I'll go back to those words, use them for something else. But right now I've got a few sentences here that do work for me, so I'm just going to stick them down before I sneeze on them or something and ruin my whole day. So we'll stick those down and yeah, continue on. And eventually those little words that I chose before will end up in other sentences. But sometimes you just cannot find the words that make it right. So, hey, just move on and try something new. Sometimes, rather than plain paper or lined paper or scraps or whatever, I will put these words on an image. I also don't worry about the words matching the image. I will just pull an image out of a book and just paste my words all over it. It's just a background as far as I'm concerned. So you could do that. You could definitely find an image that you feel the words match. And make a little bit of a themey thing out of it. But yeah, I will often take pictures out of something like a science magazine or book or an encyclopedia where there's a lot of images that you don't really have a use for. They don't make any sense away from their page in the encyclopedia or magazine or whatever. But once you stick some images, some words over the image and just stick it to a pocket, it just looks interesting for some reason. So yeah, that's another idea. And another way to use up those images that you do get out of encyclopedias and stuff that you're like, what am I going to do with an image of 3 ships? I don't do themed journals or ships or things like that, but if you stick some words over it and just use it as a background, it just becomes an interesting background at that point. The words are the focus. Now, you probably can't tell because I've edited a lot of this out, obviously, but that second page came together a lot faster than that first page. And I think a good tip if you are doing this is to have limited amount of pages to choose from. I have 3 here, but what I think happens is as you go through this and you go through these pages time and time again, you become familiar with the words that are on them, and you know, sort of your mind starts to pick up the interesting words that you might be interested in sort of putting into a sentence, so you can refer back to them because you know they're there. And I think that's how it becomes easier. Um, I think having a limited amount of pages to work with is probably advantageous when it comes to that. So I don't know, just something to think about, something that just occurred to me. So I thought I'd mention it. Well, now that I've made them, I'm going to actually pop one of these, or maybe more, into that ledger journal that I'm making. One, so you can see how I would use them, and two, because I want to. It's time for me to start working on those pages and decorate them up a bit, and this is something interesting that I can just pop in there. So let's do that. That's where I'll finish up this video, and I really hope you have enjoyed this and gives you some ideas of what to do with book pages that have big text on them. So hope you have a great day, guys. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today, and I will see you again next time. Bye.